Hey, good morning. We're going to do a quick stream here, and we'll try and see if we can get a couple of bets in the next half hour or so, and see how we do. We are Signals, Sports Investment Gaming Network, and Live Signals. You can reach us here by email. This is our Twitter handle. Looking for some traction on Twitter. It is picking up a bit, and we're looking for more. And we appreciate all the interaction that we get with our viewers and subscribers. I'm going to read our disclaimer, which is right here. Please go ahead and pause the stream if you need to read this. I'll read out the last paragraph. We are neither licensed nor authorized to provide any investing, trading, wagering, and/or betting advice whatsoever. All of the information contained within this broadcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. By subscribing to any of our alerts, notices, and our signals, you confirm that you understand that it is possible to lose some or all of your money when investing in any sports markets, and you further acknowledge that you cannot hold Signals liable or responsible for any such losses. This is our platform. As always, we'll be using the Bet365 platform, which works really well for us. For those of you who've been following, you know what to expect. I've got I'm sharing my screen. You'll see the screen, and I'll turn to games that are relevant as we go along. I'll start looking at games right now. I look at games on another computer that's next to this one, and I don't place trades on either of those computers because computers are too slow at Bet365. I use my mobile device. I use an Android phone to place my trades, and so that's what I'll be using to place my trades. So I'm just looking. I'm looking for quickly scanning through the games and looking for first half and Q3 opportunities. And as there's silence on the stream, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just working towards figuring out what our next play might be. So, first game that comes up that has some interesting things going for it is this one here. And if you've got a Bet365 account, you can see that you can watch this game live if you wanted to. I'm not logging into our account because I have no interest in watching it live. That's not what we do. But basically, we're looking at a Q3 right here total that we're interested in seeing if we can get anywhere with it. So we're going to stick with this game because it has a lot going for it, and we may be able to come up with a signal shortly. Nothing just yet. I'm just looking for the strength of this particular signal. It's a game that's got a lot going for it. It's not a full unit play. It is this is a 3/4 unit play, so 0.75 of a unit. So whatever your unit is, do 0.75 of a unit. So if it's $100, $100 times 0.75, $1,000 times 0.75, that sort of thing. Again, everything we do is based on math, and it's based on discipline and execution. please respect whatever your risk and money management parameters are. That's up to you, entirely up to you, and it's critical that you do so, because all these algorithmic signals do is find that opportunity when you have a short-term edge over the sportsbook. Doesn't guarantee success, and we lose quite frequently. We win, thankfully, more than we lose, but we do lose quite frequently, and that's expected. It's math. I mean, that's all it is. Things happen all the time that are out of our control. That's what's so compelling about sports. On paper, it's something's supposed to happen. They play the game, and something entirely different happens all the time. Well, even more so with math. So here's our first signal, over 36.5 on this particular game. So Q3 over 36.5. Not sure if we're going to be fortunate enough to have that line come into play, but we're looking at over 36.5 here on this particular one. And again, I would bet 3/4 of a unit on this one. We were down to 38, but then it just jumped up to 40. Well, it may not come off. And if you've watched my streams in the past, you'll know that backing into a trade happens frequently, but as well, line adjustments going upward also happen, and both are equally successful. So 36.5. See what happens. I'll let you know if there's a line adjustment. Obviously, if there is a line adjustment, it would be a line adjustment upwards, not downwards. Again, we look at a bunch of parameters to determine what's going on beyond what people see watching a game or watching the scoreboard. We track all kinds of other internal data, and what we do is we plug it in our proprietary algorithm. So 25 already scored. Let's see if we've got an adjustment here. Okay, so we can do 38.5, over 38.5 on this game now. We can do over 38.5. So over, and we're looking at this number to go 38.5. If you have an opportunity at 38.5, we would enter that trade. And as you can see, they are scoring, and we could revise upwards. We might not revise upwards, but the point is, if we happen not to get this one, of course there are many more opportunities. No need to worry. So we started out at over 36.5, went to over 38.5. We're currently at over 38.5. Again, it's 3/4 of a unit. Whatever your standard unit play is, do 3/4 of one at 38.5. Okay, so upward revision again. We're now at 40.5 on this game. Over 40.5. Looking at over 40.5. And they keep scoring. So this one could be slipping away from us. We're looking for an edge over the sports book, and we don't chase. What's happening here is that because they're scoring at a fairly quick pace, the sports book's upping its line quite quickly to keep pace. In fact, stay slightly ahead above pace. Makes it difficult for us to take this bet because we're basically chasing the number, and we don't want to chase. Again, it's all based on discipline and execution. So we're at over 40.5. Over 0.5. Probably going to walk away from this game very quickly. But at the moment, we're still trying to get in at over 40.5. 40.5 is the number. So once these free throws are over with and the clock is running again, we'll see if we have an adjustment in that number. Yeah, obviously this game is gone. They're scoring like gangbusters. 43.5 over 43.5 over 43.5. If they don't score again although it looks like we're either going to have a timeout or a foul here. You can see the clock's not running. Sportsbook, of course, is struggling to keep up with the game live. They'll literally just pause everything and stop it until they can get a handle on what's going on and establish their lines, which they typically, as I say, establish them for these over/under bets well above what's reasonable. So a 3-pointer. That was it for this. That was it for this game. There's nothing we can do with this one. So let's just walk away and look for another game. So we'll remove this one. Go back to our main board, and look for another game. Simple as that. May have to wait a little bit here. There isn't much going on. The only one that's in that window is one here. I don't know why the computer's so slow this morning. So we're looking at this game. It's already down to 245. There hasn't been a line established for the over/under in quite a bit of time. As you see, it's currently suspended. It has been suspended for quite a bit of time. Reason for that is they're scoring at a pretty fast pace, and the sportsbook again is wanting to get ahead of the line, and so when they can't, they just shut it down, which is what's going on here. Everything's really solid and positive with this game, that's for sure. If we can just get the clock to run again, we'll see if we generate a signal here. By the way, the calculations that we run off of are all it's just an algorithm, and it's math, and it's got a whole bunch of different indicators programmed into it, and each indicator is assigned a specific value, and based on what the reading is for that indicator, you get a points total, and then all the different indicators added up together create a number, and if the number is within a certain range, you get different signals, either a a half a unit, full unit, 3/4 unit, or full unit. Okay, so the clock was moving briefly there and it stopped again. 51.5, over 51.5. Let's do this. Let's go get this one. Let's go get over 51.5. Let's go get this. So I'm 51.5 just hit. Let's see if we can get it. It's going to go down to 50.5. 50.5. Take 50.5 if you can get it. 51.5 is still available. I didn't get either. I'm still trying to get 50.5. And I didn't get it. They just wouldn't confirm us. So 50.5 is it was 51.5 was the call. It actually went down to 50.5, and somehow they still didn't give us our bet. So I did not get in at 51.5, even though it went down to 50.5. That's very, very disappointing. It happens sometimes, but I mean, we're at 45. Clock's moving fast though. No stoppages all of a sudden. But boy, 50.5, 51.5. I like it. I like it. I think we had a really good opportunity here. You can track it if you like. See how it turns out, but I think this one could very easily be a winner. 6 points we'd need in 1 minute and 13. Not scoring though. Still, we want this to hit because we want to validate what it is we're doing. Looking for 50.5 on this particular line. They were scoring like crazy, and then all of a sudden, in the last minute and a half, well, last 2 minutes, everything just dropped off. We should have been in this though at 50.5 or 51.5. Both opportunities were available. For those of you who are new to our streams, it happens. Like I said, like I say on Twitter all the time, you have between 1 and 5 or 6 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds if there's a stoppage in play, to place your bet. But in those 1 to 3 second windows where you're clicking and the line is changing, it's very, very frustrating because you've clicked in plenty of time. But what has to happen is the sportsbook has to actually accept your bet and confirm your bet before their line changes. If their line has already changed, your bet won't be confirmed, and that's the issue. And so that's what happened here. 51.5 didn't go. 50.5 was there for quite a few seconds, and I thought for sure we'd have that, and that didn't go. As it turns out, as you can see, there were a number of possessions here. There were 3 or 4 possessions that have already taken place since we would have placed our bet. So you're looking at a bunch of points that could have been scored, and literally nothing's been scored. They've been just stopped scoring. So they're at 46. 50.5 now. It would be unlikely, but the strangest things can happen. I mean, it is a close game. Someone may be holding it for a last shot, or there could be some fouls. But the 50.5 would have been, as it turns out, a struggle. So every now and then we get an unexpected result, and it just they got the 40. They got on the last second 3, so they didn't get there. And for the strangest reason, we didn't get the bet. So we're still 0-1. We're still 0-0 as opposed to 0-1. Sometimes, as they say, it's better to be lucky than good. Excuse me. We're hopefully we'll be both. Hopefully we'll be both today. A little bit lucky, Let's have things going in our favor. Let's go with the flow as opposed to trying to go uphill. A lot of Q4s, a lot of Q4 games going on, so that's not going to yield anything. Nothing tremendous right now in terms of what's happening. There are a couple games that are going on. Just cycling through the games here on the other computer, just showing, seeing if anything's coming up. As you can see, all of these are in Q2, so those are all these are important to be monitoring, and those are the ones that I'm monitoring. So France National 1 and Poland 2 League, staying on top of those because they're all in Q2. Remember, we don't chase. We're not going to create an opportunity. We're looking at an opportunity that opens itself up to us. Always approach what we do anyway with that mindset. You're not trying to find anything. I may use that every now and then. Let's go see if we can find one and stuff like that. We're not finding anything. We're just waiting for an opportunity to expose itself to us, and when it does, then we'll be all over it. Patience. If you track our stats, which I post every day up on Twitter. We obviously have some losing days like everybody else, but for the most part, we do fairly well if you can control your risk and money management and be very diligent about that. Because we do win more than we lose, as long as you're not overexposed on the losses over time, you should be gradually, but steadily, moving your bankroll up. So the one that catches our eye the most is this one right here, which is La Rochelle versus Bordeaux. And that's the France National 1 League game. Again, this will be a first half bet. So it's right here. Totals currently 87.5. If we can get anything to come off here. But this is the game that's most relevant to us at the moment. I'm still looking at all the other games to see if there's anything else that that might be more promising for us. But I do think that's our best opportunity in terms of the games that are next available for us. Number's pretty high though, so I don't know if we're going to generate a signal that could be achieved. Right now, there's nothing to do. Stoppage in play. We've got the timeout, so I've got a few seconds to continue scouting around for another opportunity. As I've mentioned before, we're never in two bets at a time. Well, this sort of method that we employ doesn't lend itself to two signals at a time anyway. Because you're live betting, you need to be really focused on the one game that you're tracking, and it's just best to stick with the one opportunity as you see it. So that's why sometimes you may not get anything for quite a while, because you were focused on the one play, and something else is something that you anticipated might happen doesn't happen. A new game just started, so they're just putting up new lines there on the board. Okay, we're down to 4 minutes here. Still looking at this one. Don't know that we're going to get this one off. Still no signal. No edge. No edge at all in this game at this point. Another stoppage in play. Foul. Not still not yielding a signal though. Lots going on with this game in terms of the clock. You can see it was down to 3:06. Now they've moved it back to 3:09. Usually a situation where there are a bunch of fouls being committed, and so it's affecting the line, which is why the number's currently suspended. Oh, it's back up now at 87. So let's go with this game. Let's try and So 87 and a half, over 87 and a half, over 87 and a half is what you're looking for. Over 87 and a half. Suspended again. Over 87 and a half. That line may have to be revised upwards. I see there's another foul in the play. 87 and a half is the number. 87 and a half. And that is a 3/4 of a unit play, 0.75. 87 and a half, 0.75 times your usual amount. 87 and a half. Let's go get this one. Here we go, 88 and a half. We have a chance. There's only a few seconds left before the bet disappears. We may get a chance here, may not. It's going to be really tight. There's 87 and a half. I'm trying to get 87 and a half live. See if they give it to me. They didn't give it to me. They suspended it. That doesn't happen often, I have to say. If you've watched our streams, we do usually find a way to get into our bets. We did not get it again. It's at 89, and then they move it up to 89 and a half. It's unfortunate, but we're not going to chase this. We were there briefly at 87 and a half. Anyway, let's move on. We don't have it. That's okay. Let's stay positive and let the lines come to us. As I mentioned, we're 1-0 in today. We had one this morning. We can do this. Just a question of being patient and allowing the opportunity to flow to you, as opposed to getting yourself into a play based on your need to trade. So the only other game that we're looking at in this very second is this one right here, the Poland 2 Liga game. Jim Basket versus Nisa. Number's way too high, by the way. Number's way too high, so we're not chasing this. We'll see if we number one, generate a signal, and number two, if the line can come into play. But this number's way too high, and it's way too high. But if you know what it is we do, you'll know that we rarely ever call out an under. It would have to be an obvious under play. The parameters that are programmed into the algorithm, as far as generating signals, are heavily biased in favor of the over, not the under, for obvious reasons. We've had at length discussions about this on Twitter and on our streams. The modern game of basketball is designed for scoring. Lots of scoring. And very little defense. And that's applicable anywhere on the globe. Every basketball league, it's up-tempo basketball presently that's being played. It's fan-friendly, and that's why the game is growing by leaps and bounds everywhere in the world. That's why the merchandising is up. That's why attendance is up everywhere. That's why betting is up. It's all it's a lot of action. It's fast-paced, and that's what is driving this game, as opposed to other sports where the tendency has been to slow down a lot of these sports, which is what's turning people off. 84.5. I'll take over 84.5 right now. It's suspended again. Unbelievable. So, it's crazy. There's the number right there, 84.5. We were right there. I may have called it a little bit late. It's discipline and its execution. We had the discipline. The execution was probably off. But there it is again. 84.5, over 84.5. Take 84.5, over 84.5. Take that bet. 84.5. I'm in. So we have over 84.5 as a live play here. 83.5 is up now. So if you don't have 84.5, you can get in right now at 83.5. It's sitting right there. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. May go to 82.5. No, back to 84.5. Gosh, I can't remember what I called out. Let's see what my bet is. I have, just pulling it up on my phone here, it's 84.5. So my bet is 84.5. Let's see if we can get there. Over 84.5. Let's see if we can get this. So we'll stick with this game through the end of the first half. There's a lot going for it. It's a solid play. Also, the league here, they tend to score a lot of points in this particular league as well, which is also a good thing. So there's a lot going for it. It may yield us the result that we're looking for. We should be right in it once the clock expires. This isn't going to be one of those games, I don't believe, where we hit our total with a lot of time left on the clock. I've posted a few of those on Twitter where there's literally a minute left and we're already in. Don't see this as being one of those situations. And the only downside we have to this particular bet, the real negative here that everyone should be aware of, is the score. It's 48-33. It's a 15-point lead. It's not unusual for the team with the big lead to hold the ball and not and slow play down in the last minute or so of the first half and not push the pace up the floor, which will cause exactly what we're seeing right now. No more points being scored. It's an issue. But we'll see what happens. It's still we're still right in there. So yeah, there's something to be aware of when you're doing these over bets. When you can find a game that is within where the score is within 2 or 3 possessions, then you have a greater likelihood that they're going to continue to try and score. So we'll see what happens. One thing you will notice from all of our bets, the thing about the algorithm and the signals that are generated, it's going to be 1 in 100 where you're not in it. Almost, I would say 80% of all plays, you are right in there. You've got a real good chance of cashing. Or not, they can go either way. I'd say 80% of them can go either way. Maybe 3 or 4% where unfortunately it's just not going to happen. It's way off. So what I say, 80, we're at 83, and maybe another I'd say like 10% where it's a lock. It's always a lock. You can almost bank it before anything's even happened. So my bet is 84.5. We're already at 85, and there's still 30 seconds left on the clock. This one has already cashed. It's a winner. So not much more to say here. We can watch these last few seconds. So it's interesting because we're at 85. This will probably be our only bet of the day. I got unfortunately a lot more to do. You can see the clock, how it adjusted. They were down to 0. They put 3 seconds back up, down to 1, down to 0. We'll see if it's actually halftime or if there's a foul on the play, just for the because I want to talk about our number before I end this stream. Just want to confirm that we're actually at halftime. Well, let's assume we're at halftime, and we're at 85 points. We now the line in this game, you watched it with 3 minutes to play in the half. It was at 88.5. It was suspended a few times. Showed up again at 86.5. Our algorithm called 84.5. And we waited. We had an opportunity once to get 84.5, and that then the bets were suspended. We didn't get it, and then it went to 85.5, and then it did hit 84.5. I have it. I have that bet. I put it in. I'll post the screenshots up on our Twitter account so everyone can see it. But we did get it at 84.5. Anyway, here's my point. End of the half. They scored exactly 85, so we win by 0.5. Nothing unusual in winning by 0.5. As I said, 80% of every signal that we call are going to you're going to be in it. You're going to win by a point. You're going to lose by a point. All we're saying is that with this particular algorithm, of those 80% that you're right in it, you're going to win more than you're going to lose. Beyond that, there are going to be about 3 to 5% where you're going to have no chance whatsoever. It just happens. You know, everything that the algorithm was picking up on, everything that was determining the likely outcome has just turned on its head. Everything is turned around. It's going. It's just the opposite is happening. You're out. And then there's another. That gets you what, 85 or so. Another 10 to 15%. My math isn't tremendous, even though I'm a mathematician. Math is my thing. There's a 10 to 15% likelihood that when one of these signals comes out, it's a lock. You can't possibly lose. You can just see it. It's just everything is just working for you, and that has to do with things. Number one, the discipline to wait for the signal to come up, and you got the signal and you took it, and it's a winner. Great. You took the other is so discipline, number one. Number two is execution. You got to be so quick on that trigger. I can't emphasize that enough. If your computer's slow, if your phone is slow, if you have to have lightning fast Wi-Fi or data. You can't do this with my signal's sort of cutting in and out. You have to have tremendous speeds to ensure that you click, and a second or two later you're in. You saw we tried 3 times to get into a bet today, couldn't do it, and we finally got this one, and it cashed. Now about the total, I want to just say one more thing before we end this stream, and I would implore you to listen to this because it's important to understand how our process works. We called 84.5. 85 is the final total. There were 40 seconds of play left when we already had scored 85. Obviously, in a situation like this, where both teams are in the bonus, where it's a relatively close game heading into halftime, you would assume that you're good for another 2 to 3 points minimum. You can do all the calculations you want in the world. There's a million different ways to calculate these basketball over-unders. Our algorithm works it one way. There's so many different calculations you can make, but no one's going to say that in this particular game it was unlikely that any more points would be scored. So you're thinking 2 more points, 3 more points, maybe a basket each. Who knows? So you're thinking 86.5, 87.5. Maybe you might still win this bet fairly easily. It didn't happen. It ended up being 84.5 ended up being the only number that was going to win. Coincidentally, 84.5 was the lowest total that was ever displayed throughout this quarter, and our algorithm picked it up. That's what's phenomenal about our algorithm. We didn't tell you get in at 85.5. We didn't tell you get in at 86.5. We called 84.5 well before that number was ever displayed. And in fact, it was for people watching, you would think it's unrealistic that 84 would come up. And when it did, we executed perfectly, and we were able to successfully take this trade. Anyway, just a little plug for our service and what it is we're able to do for you. We really are thankful for all the views that we get on these recordings. We'd love to develop a really strong live betting community to develop our service, show you what you can do. We intend to develop this as a premium service, and until that time, it's always free to watch what we do. Eventually, we're going to get that. We're going to hit that sweet spot, get that viewership up, get the subscriptions up, and get to a premium service. It'll be dirt cheap. It'll be so worth the money based on what it is we do and what it is we provide. But in the interim, it's free for everyone to discover and to enjoy and hopefully profit alongside us. So I'm out of breath. We're going to call it a day. This is what we do. Signals, Sports Investment Gaming Network, and Live Signals. You can pause this on your stream and see exactly what it is we do. I've described it over and over again. I've walked you through some of our processes. This is how you can reach us. Email us, and please follow us on Twitter. Like some of our stuff. Retweet some of our stuff. We love the interaction. We try to interact with others in the industry who do things that we find interesting. We're not a traditional service. We don't do anything the old-fashioned way. If you want to succeed in anything you do in life, you've got to stand out. You've got to be different. You've got to be willing to stand for what you believe in and what you're doing. That's what we do. We appreciate the support that we get on Twitter, and we like to support others that we feel are doing something similar, even though it's completely different from what we do. You can see that they're principled, they're disciplined, and they believe in themselves, and that's everything in this business. Trading psychology is way more important than the technical aspects of trading will ever be. That's it for us. We're signing off. Another wonderful stream today, and we look forward to doing this again real soon. Hopefully over the weekend if we can, although we are typically a Monday to Friday service. Just going to click here to get out of this. And thanks again.